question cards or comment cards on the table in the back. So before each item or during the process, if you have a question or want to provide a comment, please fill out one of the comment cards. We will ask for the comment cards before the hearing starts. So just raise your hand and staff will pick up the comment cards, and they'll provide us a little order and organization for how we're moving through it. So for those of you who are here for the Herkenhof conditional use permit, the Rosa Hoff Dairy, if you want a comment card, now would be a time to get it. So I'm going to start performing a roll call. Jason Ringman, District 1, I'm here. District 2, David Bencher is absent today. District 3, Jason Crone.
Here.
District 4, Dave. Here. District 5, Jacob.
Here.
At large, Rich.
Here.
Tara is absent today, and ex officio, Joe.
Here.
Cool. All right, Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, as stated, our first agenda item is to consider a request for a conditional use permit submitted by Rosa Hoff Dairy, aka Herkenhof Central Dairy of Freeport, Minnesota. Any comment cards coming in for that, if you have any comments? So take your time. We'll do a staff report. Come on up, the applicant, please come to the table. We'll provide a staff report. We'll have applicant respond, and then if you have comments, then also free to raise your card, and we'll be ready to take comments. All right. So this conditional use permit is submitted according to the requirements of section 4.8, 4.14, 6.8, and 9.2 of Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439 to expand their facility with proposed barn additions and increase their milking herd from 330 animal units to 499 animal units of mature dairy cattle over 1,000 pounds, dairy heifers, and calves. The property under consideration is located within the 1,000 feet shoreland overlay at 42588 280th Avenue, Freeport, Minnesota 56331 in the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 10, Township 126 North, Range 32 West of Millwood Township. Members who visited the site. I did. Jason Crone.
I did not.
Dave.
I did.
Jacob.
I did.
Rich.
I did.
Joe.
Yes.
Okay. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this applicant is requesting to construct some additions onto existing number 5 up there in the map on the screen, and which was also included in your packet. One of those additions is a 40 by 48 barn, which is labeled number 6 on the map, and a 100 by 124 foot addition, which is labeled number 7, both attached to that number 5. And then there was an email sent out today with some updates regarding both of agenda items 1 and 2. One of those, for the record, was a additional item change and proposed since Feedlot Review Committee, and that is the addition of a 20,000 gallon or less concrete limited risk liquid manure storage area. And so that will go into that addition number 7 that's also proposed. And so that will help transfer some of the manure that's accumulated in those barns to go to the number 4 pit. So in your packet is the comprehensive plan, goals, and policies. So I'll skip over those. Some additional relevant information for this site. It's been a feedlot since fall of '98. It's maintained all the state county registrations since that time. There are existing CUPs on file for this facility, one in 2008 and 2009. The 2009 CUP proposed a total confinement building with a holding area and parlor to increase animal unit capacity to 339.4. For the 2008 CUP, the applicant's proposed construction never occurred, so that's why they had to go through it again in 2009. The 4 conditions attached to that 2009 CUP are listed in your packet. And then we did a compliance inspection on site of May of 2025, and staff determined the facility was compliant for water quality discharge requirements and non-compliant for manure record keeping. And out of that record keeping, there was just 2 areas that were non-compliant, not the full-on, all the applicable items of record keeping, and those were just for the included crop history, so it looks at a couple years, and there was minimal information for that, and then the carryover plant available and from all sources applied. On May 20, 2025, a manure management plan was submitted. Upon review, this plan is not required per Minnesota Rule 7020 when producers are using commercial applicators to apply the manure that is generated on site. If any changes occur within the operation, any manure plan requirements will be required to meet the criteria of Minnesota State Rule 7020 requirements before any permits are issued. The joint county and state feedlot permit, we did get that application in May as well. And then as you can see on the map, the facility is consisted of total and partial confinement buildings, 1 open lot that is attached to that LMSA number 4 on site, and then a feed storage pad. And then I went over the proposed construction activities, and they are also with that proposal looking to request to go up to 499 animal units at the feedlot, which would be 272 head of dairy cattle, milked or dry over 1,000 pounds, 150 head of dairy heifers, and then 66 head of dairy calves. We don't have no valid complaints on file for this feedlot. And then the site is located within the shoreland overlay district of 1,000 feet. So Becky will zoom out a little bit, but you can kind of see there the color change. So where you can see the brown versus the gray, that is the 1,000-foot line. And it's an unnamed natural environment lake to the north. The applicant's septic system on site was inspected and recertified in July of 2023. So this recertification of that septic is good for 3 years, so they didn't have to redo that with this request. The surrounding properties in Stearns County are zoned A80. The city of St. Rosa is approximately 1.1 mile to the southwest of the facility. Also included and shown on the maps are the 15 residences within 1 mile and 8 existing feedlots that are registered within the 1 mile of this site. And then the nearest residence to this property is 1,540 feet northwest of the feedlot, and then access to it is via 280th Avenue. And then as of right now, the environmental assessment worksheet, known as the EAW, Environmental Impact Statement, EIS, and State Disposal System, so SDS, or the Feedlot Natural Pollution Discharge Elimination System, known as MPDS. Feedlot permits are not required for this facility at this time. The findings of facts are listed in your staff report. And then our staff recommendations for this proposal are listed on the screen, and I will go through those. There are 3 of them. Number 1, the owner shall construct all proposed improvements according to plan specification guidelines submitted with the application unless otherwise approved by ESD. The owner to create an emergency response plan if manure storage is less than 6 months with the proposed expansion in animal units for the site. And that the owner shall contact ESD within 3 days of construction completion, so a post-construction inspection may be completed. The draft minutes from the Feedlot Review Committee from June 4th are also included for this item in your packet. And this will go to County Board on July 8th, and notifications were sent to the Star Post, Cold Spring Record, City of St. Rosa, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and then the Millwood Township as well. And that is all I have for my staff report.
Quick note, Becky and staff, I did see the landowner on site and his dog. So we just saw each other and talked a little bit about why I was there.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
applicant. So state your name, address, and if you have any additions.
Tom Kirkenoff. Address is 42588 280th Avenue, Freeport, Minnesota.
And I'm Vicki Herkenoff at that same residence.
Any additions to the staff report?
No, nope.
Okay. Public hearing, we didn't see any cards. Anybody want to provide comment? Any comment from the public? One more shot. Any comment from the public? I entertain a motion to close.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we make a motion to close the public hearing.
Jason, motion to close. Second.
I'll second that.
Rich, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing closed. Commission questions for staff or the applicant? Yes.
The number of animal units goes up to 499. There must be something that triggers 500 instead of 499. Just curious, is there something that triggers that 500 animal units?
Commissioner Persky and members of the board, so at 500 animal units, it's what the applicant's proposing. There are some differences as far as permitting requirements at 500 or more. The biggest one that he don't have to do at 499 is the good neighbor notice. Otherwise, the manure management plan, if they're not using commercial applicators, would apply the same as what it would here. So that's the only real difference.
Just curious.
Other questions, comments from the staff, from the board? Hearing none, finding of facts. Is the proposal consistent with the Stearns County zoning ordinance number 439?
Mr. Chair, I'll take a shot at this. It does fall under number 439. Under section 4.8, which deals with conditional use permits and what's allowed, section 4.14, animal feedlot permits. Also section 6.8, which address animal feedlot standards, and also section 9.2 on what's allowed within the A80 agricultural district zoning.
Perfect, thanks for the additions.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an environmental assessment worksheet, EAW, environmental impact statement, EIS, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NPDES, a state disposal system, SDS, or other permit required for this facility?
Mr. Chair, there are none required.
Thank you. Does the proposal conform to the goals and objectives of the County Comprehensive Land Use Plan? Please specify the appropriate sections.
Mr. Chair, just trying to get to my ag goals because it applies to a few of those. As we look at the expansion of the farm in this case, it falls perfectly in line with supporting agriculture as a desirable land use for the long term and facilitate diversification of the county's ag economy. Expansions like this are critical in helping the ag remain as a very viable part of our county.
Perfect, thank you. Will the site configuration, number, and type of animals at this site and prevailing wind conditions impact any of the following areas, including traffic, public safety, schools, parks, churches, and other municipal or residential areas? Or are there any other impacts? If so, please identify.
Mr. Chair, it'd be minimally impact.
Thanks, Rich. Has the information been provided regarding to the impact of property values as a result of this proposal?
Mr. Chair, there's been nothing provided or discussed about property values.
Thank you. Have all the recommendations from the Feedlot Review Committee and Feedlot staff been reviewed?
Mr. Chair, yes, they have.
Thank you. Any other issues pertinent to this matter?
I believe it's pertinent that they've been running an operation out there for many years, and this is an addition to that. It's been basically in compliance with the exception of some minor little clerical things on recording, which it sounds like have been addressed, and so I think it's always pertinent when people have a successful operation.
Thanks, Jason. Any others? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend we make a motion to approve the application with the 3 conditions recommended by staff.
Motion with the 3 conditions. Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Second from Rich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and this will be, you said July 8th before the county board. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with the expansion.
All right, agenda item number 2 is Joel and Suzanne Lauer. So if you have comments or would like to participate in the public hearing, we do have cards on the side. If you already have one filled out, raise your hand and wave it. Otherwise, as we'll be doing staff report, public applicant comments, and then if you want to fill out anything at that time, again, please fill out a comment card. So, the item today is to consider a request for a conditional use permit submitted by Joel and Suzanne Lauer of Clearwater, Minnesota, according to the requirements of sections 4.8, 4.14, 6.8, and 9.3 of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439 to expand their facility by constructing a total confinement barn with an attached open lot within the 300-foot shoreland overlay, along with proposing 291 units, animal units of beef cows, calves, feeders, heifers, and 1 horse. The facility is proposing additional expansion outside the shoreland overlay, such as other total confinement barns and open lots. The property under consideration is located at 17428 County Road 45, Clearwater, Minnesota, 56320, in the southeast quarter of the northwest corner of Section 26, Township 126 North, Range 28 West of Fairhaven Township. Members who visited the site. I did. Jason Crone.
Unfortunately not.
Dave Nafla.
Yes, I did.
Jacob.
I did.
Rich Blankish.
Yes, I did.
Joe. Okay, staff report.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, before I get into the staff report any further, I know you had said the site location and information. I would just like to, for the record, as indicated in the email that was sent late this afternoon to you all, the address that's listed in the staff report, the 17428 County Road 45, is actually the applicant's address. The site address is listed on the maps as 15452 28th Avenue, and that is correct. And then across the road on the north side, which is what's triggering the CUP, is 15803 County Road 45. So
Thank you.
just want to make that clarification for everyone. So thank you for the board, to the board member that noted that and let us know. So this one is combined of 3 tracts and is 360 acres in size at those addresses that I just had mentioned. The agricultural pillar goals and policies are included in your packet. They're looking to construct 2 total confinement barns. So as shown on the map, they are numbered number 8, which that is within that shoreline overlay, which is part of the reason for this need for this CUP. And then number 7 is the same size outside of shoreline, so that's not triggering the CUP need. But it's also part of the proposal. And then an open lot, 35 foot by 200 feet long, attached to that barn, number 8, that is up in that shoreline overlay area. And then we have a yearly rotating lot, which is labeled 9A, 9B, and 9C, up on the north part of County Road 45 as well. So just some information regarding this request in this facility. This feedlot was originally registered January 5th, 2000 for 360.6 animal units. It's remained registered and meets all state and county registration requirements. We did do a compliance inspection out there in spring of 2024, and at that time the facility was compliant for water quality discharge requirements. A joint county and state feedlot permit application was received March of 2024. We did receive a waiver for that from the applicant in July of 2024. We did get the application for the conditional use permit May of 2025. And then the current facility, as you can see up on the map, consists of existing total confinement barns, partial confinement barns, some under barn manure storage, open lots, and is registered for 176 animal units currently. And then the applicants are proposing those things that I had mentioned, and then barn number 8, as I had stated, is within that shoreline overlay, but it is allowed because there was a barn there previously that was part of the original registration for the facility. So barn number 8 is not further encroaching into the shoreline overlay than what was historically there and allowed. It is having that, also proposing to have that open lot attached to it for cattle access to that building as well. And then the open lots that are to the west of it outside of the shoreline overlay district, each year only one of these 3 can be used for feeding the livestock and then must be rotated out with another one of the 3 in the following year to avoid runoff concern per our Min Farm modeling on that proposal. The feedlot permit application submitted is requesting 291 animal units for the feedlot, which would be 100 head of slaughter steers, 120 head of beef cow calf pairs, and 100 head of feeder cattle, and then 1 horse. We don't have no valid complaints on file for this feedlot. The site is in that shoreline overlay district, which is 300 feet for this site from Hanson Brook or 3 Mile Creek, which is a trout stream. The applicant's septic system doesn't require recertification as it's located outside of the shoreline overlay district for this request. The surrounding adjoining properties in Stearns County are zoned A40. Those are to the west and the south, and A80 to the north and to the east. Also on a map included in the packet, it shows the local residences and the registered feedlots within 1 mile, and there's 36 homes and 8 existing registered feedlots. So you can see those there on that map. And then the other map that's included with your packet shows the distance to the nearest residences to the property. So that's 708 feet to the west and then 711 feet to the southwest of the north portion of the feedlot. And then access is off of that County Road 45 basically for both of them, even though 28th Avenue is the dirt road that is like the long driveway to the south portion. The applicant is required to complete a stormwater pollution prevention plan and has been made aware of that, which is also known as a SWIP, but is not required to be submitted to our department. An environmental assessment worksheet known as the EAW, an environmental impact statement EIS, and state disposal system SDS or feedlot national pollution discharge elimination system known as the NPDS. Feedlot permits are not required for this facility at this time. The findings of facts are laid out in your staff report and were provided as well. We do have 3 conditions for this one also that is recommended by staff, and I'll read through those. The owner shall construct all proposed improvements according to plans, specifications, and guidelines submitted with the application unless otherwise approved by the Environmental Services Department. Number 2, of open lots 9A, 9B, 9C, only one may be used during any one growing season and limited to livestock types and or numbers that would not create a pollution potential or as otherwise approved by ESD. And then number 3, the owner shall contact the Environmental Services Department within 3 days of construction completion so a post-construction inspection may be completed. The draft minutes from the June 2025 meeting from the Feedlot Review are included in your packet as well. And then this will go to County Board as well on July 8th. And then we did notify Tri-County News, Cold Spring Record, Clearwater River District Watershed, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and then Fairhaven Township as well. And then that is all I have, Mr. Chair, members of the board, in regards to the staff report until it's the public input comment time. So,
Thanks, Bethany. So if you have anyone wants to provide comment, if you have a card, raise your hand. All right, applicant, state your name and address, please.
Joel Lauer, 17428 County Road 45, Clearwater. Okay. Joel Lauer, 17428 County Road 45, Clearwater.
Allison Lauer, the same address as my wife.
Thank you. Any additions to the staff report?
No.
Okay. Open the public hearing. Any members of the public want to speak? Any members of the public here to speak? Final offer. Any members of the public care to speak?
Mr. Chair, make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Motion from Jason. Any second?
Second it.
Do I need to read these two public comments? That's
Oh, I'm
so
sorry,
before
I'm
you
sorry.
get too far. It's
I'll
okay,
refrain.
Jason.
We're fast.
Yes.
We'll hold. Motion's been rescinded.
Yeah, I'll hold it. Go ahead.
All right. So since there's no one here in person to provide any comment, I'll move on to the submitted comments that we have received. So I'll start with the first one. This was submitted Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 6:09 p.m. via email. And so this is up on the screen, and those were sent out to you this afternoon. So I'm not going to read it word for word, so I'm going to try to shorten it up as much as possible just because of the short notice to not be able to send them to you earlier before today. So basically their statement opposing cattle farm expansion and shoreland overlay. The key points is the concern about water quality risks and contamination. And they just talk about the shoreline overlay zones exist in part to safeguard nearby water bodies from runoff and pollution. Talks about cattle operations generate substantial amounts of manure and nutrient-rich waste, which if mismanaged or exposed to rainfall can easily seep into nearby water sources. Even with containment systems in place, heavy rains or spring thaws can overwhelm storage capacity, leading to nutrient loading and degradation of water quality. Second one, habitat destruction and ecosystem imbalance. Header number 2, zones are critical buffers between upland development and aquatic systems, supporting a wide variety of plant and animal life. Expanding a cattle farm into this protected area result in habitat loss, disruption of wildlife corridors, and decline in native biodiversity. The concern is also about compacted soils and how it may infect natural water infiltration and destroy native vegetation. That's crucial for shoreland stabilization. Also, moreover, the presence of large animals near sensitive habitats increase the risk of shoreline erosion and siltation, which suffocate fish spawning beds and destabilize aquatic ecosystems. Header number 3 is conflict with zoning intent and precedents. The purpose of the shoreline overlay designation is clear: to maintain environmental quality, protect natural landscapes, and limit incompatible land uses near water sources. They talks about large-scale agricultural operation, and it refers to those as CAFOs, directly contradict these goals, so allowing the expansion would undermine the very purpose of the zoning code. And then they just state at the end of that is that this is not simply a land use decision, it is precedent-setting environmental judgment. Approving this expansion signals the economic interest may override longstanding protections designed to benefit the community as a whole. Number 4, long-term community and economic costs. While the cattle farm may argue short-term economic benefits from expansion, the long-term environmental costs could outweigh them many times over. It discusses declining water quality, diminishes recreation opportunities, property values, and lead to public health advisories or mitigation efforts funded by taxpayers. And then inclusion, we are urging the zoning board to uphold the integrity of the shoreline overlay designation and reject the proposed cattle farm expansion. The environmental risks to our water, wildlife, and our way of life are too great. Protecting shoreline zones is not only a legal obligation, it's a moral one, grounded in respect for land and responsibility for future generations. Let us not sacrifice the long-term health of our shared natural resources for short-term private gain. Respectfully submitted, Curtis and Judith Olson of Olson Family Farms, 323 Beechwood Road, South Haven, Minnesota, 55382. The second one I received up on your screen was received Thursday, June 26, 2025 at 9:22 a.m. And this one is a formal objection to conditional use permit for expansion of cattle operations in shoreland overlay area. To whom it may concern, I'm writing as a concerned friend of Stearns County to express my strong objection to the proposed conditional use for the expansion in the shoreland overlay. It lists the expansion poses a serious threat to 3 Mile Creek, Otter Lake, Clearwater Lake, and the interconnected aquatic ecosystems downstream. Number 1 is water quality degradation that they have listed, and then kind of very similar things as far as runoff from large-scale cattle operation introduces excess nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus in nearby waterways. These pollutants fuel harmful algae blooms, decrease oxygen, and create dead zones, endangering fish and aquatic life. And then it discusses the proximity to 3 Mile Creek and its direct connection to Clearwater Lake. Even minor increases in nutrient loading can lead to escalating ecological damage. Number 2 header is shoreland ordinance violations. So the Shoreland Management Act and Stearns County Ordinance are clear. Shoreland areas must be protected from intensive agricultural practices that degrade water quality and shoreland stability. Allowing a CUP for livestock expansion in sensitive zone contradicts the intent and letter of these regulations, setting a dangerous precedent for future encroachments. Number 3, irreversible ecological damage. So that one just kind of talks about 3 Mile Creek and how it's connected to lakes that serve as habitat for fish, waterfowl, and other wildlife. And again, talks about the increases in bacteria, pathogen levels, and how that harms aquatic ecosystems. Number 4, threat to public health and recreation is listed in this one. Otter Lake and Clearwater Lake are widely used for recreation, including swimming, boating, fishing. Pollutant runoff jeopardizes not just ecosystem health, but human health, economic activity, and property values. Residents and visitors alike deserve access to clean, safe water. Number 5 header in this one is alternative sites and solutions exist. There are alternative locations and suitable agricultural practices that will allow for cattle operations without compromising our shared water resources. The CUP is not the only viable option for expanding, and it is not acceptable one given the location. In closing, I urge the Planning Commission and Stearns County Environmental Services to deny this CUP permit in the interest of long-term environmental stewardship, compliance with state and local shoreline protections, and the well-being of all who live in or visit this area. Thank you for consideration of this objection. Please keep me informed of upcoming hearings or decisions related to this matter. Sincerely, Ronald M. Hansen, 14404 El Dorado Street Northwest, Andover, Minnesota, 55304. And then it says remain calm and carry on at the bottom. So that is what I have, Mr. Chair and members of the board, for public input regarding this agenda item.
Thank you, Bethany. Joel and or Susan, any comments to the input?
No comments to the input as far as I guess the main comment would be this chosen site is an existing site that we were,
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
you're almost there.
One comment, the chosen site is at an existing cattle facility that was previously permitted. We looked at options to move the facility to the west slightly on top of a hill, and we would still encroach on shoreland if we kept it there as well. Per Bethy Jo's analysis in the drawings, it would be kind of where the 2 6s are up there, right above Lot A. It would be really tight to put the facility in there and remain outside of shoreland, although it would encroach less. That was our other option.
Okay, thank you. Motion to close.
I will go back with my motion to close the public hearing. Thank
All
you.
right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and second to close. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing's closed. Commission questions for staff or the applicant?
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, and I want to confirm my understanding of this application is accurate. So really the only thing that causes any of this to be an issue when it comes to the shoreland overlay is the existing site, correct? Everything else, as I'm looking at it, is drawn outside of that area. Is that a fair assessment?
Member Crone, Mr. Chair, and other members of the board. So yes, so what you're seeing in that lightish pink overlay anything that would be proposed within that area is what is triggering the need for the conditional use permit. It's not the animal units. Sometimes you guys will see CUPs in front of you for a facility outside of shoreline, but it's the 700 or more animal units that is triggering the need for the CUP. So it is the proposal of number 8 that is triggering the need for the conditional use permit tonight. Why that is allowed to be proposed and to be asked by the owners and the applicants is because there was a prior existing barn in that location of a different size. So when you're not rebuilding the same exact thing, then it would need a CUP, hence why you're here. You can kind of see it a little bit in this one, the old footprint and layout. And there is in the historic imagery more than the barn that was encroaching within this 300 foot, so they are allowed to ask for this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and furthermore, all additional lots, some of the things with rotating between lots A, B, and C is directly impacting some of the current concerns of the emails that came in. It's to prevent nutrient loads and everything on a particular area so that over the course of time, those things will break down, infiltrate into the soil as they normally would, and prevent runoff into the stream. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yep, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Member Crone, that is correct. So that's why when we have a tool called MinFarm at our disposal, and that looks at, slopes, vegetation cover, soil types, and so, kind of looking at worst case scenario as far as numbers that the applicant is proposing to put on there, it meets those criteria. So that's why we did, describe that in the staff report, but we also did kind of tie that in with the conditions. Even though that lot number 9, A, B, and C is outside of shoreland, we did tie that because it is connected to that location in number 8. So.
Appreciate it. That's why I thought that condition was in there. I just wanted to confirm that was accurate. So thank you.
Bethany, can you restate condition number 2, please, just to clarify what those 3 lots, the 3 sites are for, so we're clear on the required if we approve the condition, the required management standard on that?
Yep, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So number 2 says of open lots number 9, A, B, and C, so outlined on that north part of that road, only one of those 3 lots may be used during any one growing season and limited to the livestock types or numbers that would not create a pollution potential or as otherwise approved by Environmental Services Department. So basically, one of those 3 could be used at any one growing season time. So if the applicant or the owner chooses to use lot 8 or lot 9A for, let's say, the first growing season, then it would either need to be flipped to 9B or 9C, or it could remain in 9A for the second growing season based upon this condition, because based upon the MinFarm, 9B and 9C provide some of that buffer that would be required to basically say MinFarm approving those sizes of lots and based upon the animals. And so how that condition, the ending part of it got to be is because of what my MinFarm had put in regarding cow-calf pairs. If the process changes to just feeder cattle or heifers or just cows on there, that was what FRC thought would be allowed to. If they wanted to change numbers, we would just have to be basically approved, or processes other approved by ESD, so that's why they put that in there. So.
And then just for folks who aren't steeped in the policy language, MinFarm is?
It's basically a modeling that is available to all feedlot people in the state of Minnesota to use, where we look at the number of cattle, a given specific square foot type, the surface that it is. It looks at what's built into it is major rainfall events, history. That's all put in there. So what we do as feedlot staff is we put in the numbers as we discuss with the applicant and the owner what the plans are. kind of build it in a little bit worst case. So if it is a, go on the higher side or worst case scenario, and if it min farms out and we feel based upon management, we do have tools at our disposal to help or correct issues that may come up. But that is kind of the gist of min farm is like, I could look at that and say, I think this would be environmentally okay to allow, but the min farm is just another tool that we can use to either support or deny our visual thinking. So.
Thanks for the clarification. Other staff comments, questions? Joe.
First of all, of the 3 lots being used on the north side of 45, how are they going to be delineated?
Yeah, so I know that has been discussed internally too, and I know that that's the applicant. So that's why they are going to be roughly an estimate. So for when we're talking about size and delineated lines, so to speak, so when we're talking the west line, there is a fence there with property stakes. So we do know that that is a hard location to measure from. And we can't permit things that are within that 50 feet of a surveyed property line without a variance approval. So the applicant does know the west line property line established by already a previous survey and survey stakes. So that'll be easy enough to denote off of that line. And then, like I'd said, when I did the min farm for this site, I did build in some, when I did the min farm, to be honest, for lot A, B, and C, I went with a higher square footage than what that polygon shows in case that our lines aren't as crisp as what that is when it comes down to usage. So, so that may not, the applicant won't be required to have each one of those lots fenced in for the growing season. So, and the applicant can probably speak on this too, but we've discussed this, and so the applicant uses some feeders and feeds out there, so it's not going to be fenced in, but that area is what the area can be dirt during the growing season. So we can't have A, B, and C all one dirt area where he's feeding. He has to restrict it to that general area for that growing season. So there won't be fences, 3 separate paddocks out there that he'll be rotating each growing season to feeding. So it's going to be dirt based upon visual. So there are some landmarks, and like I said, we have that west property line too to be able to measure off of so that we know that we're staying 50 feet off the property line too.
And then going off Jason's questions, then everything though that we are going to be allowing has been requested. There's no type of variance that's being applied. This is all allowable practice.
Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, members of the board, yes. So the items have to be 700 feet away from the nearest residential structure. So the home that's on the parcel that you can see up there, you can't see the home because it's new home, but they had to do a survey that's 700 feet away. So if the applicant would have not been meeting the setbacks, they would have had to have gone to a variance in basically tandem with the CUP request. So they would need both.
There's no variance for infringement upon statute on what's allowed as far as overlay.
Nope. So as far as what the overlay, the shoreland overlay is so the state, and also it says in our ordinance, if there is feedlot areas, whether it's a barn or open lot established within that shoreland overlay district, and for this one, it's remained active and it's remained registered, they can request to rebuild and not further encroach. And so that's why you can see that old barn structure. Yep. And so sometimes too, not this one, but there are other sites that have been deactivated in shoreland, and then the applicants or owners are coming here to reactivate them in shoreland. So, but this one in particular has been an active feedlot, but that's why number 8 is allowed to be requested, because there was other feedlot structures, including open lots, that were equal to or closer to the stream than what's being proposed right here.
And my last question, in regards to County Road 45,
with a vertical mixer in the bunks we'd feed with the vertical mixer in the bunks in either Lot A or Lot B or Lot C during the winter time. Other areas would remain unused.
What I'm concerned about would be traffic, aside from the access that's presently existing, and how much that would be. I'm concerned about safety. Perhaps with the wood you have there, you're not going to be accessing it all close to the wood to be done.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think Commissioner and members of the board is what you're just asking is there other plans for other driveways that would be being used for the farming practices other than what's there? Okay. So,
There's no plans to add any additional driveways or anything.
Jason?
Mr. Chair, because of the public comments, I just want to make this real clear for myself and maybe anyone else that has concerns regarding runoff and environmental. The things we were talking about, lots A, B, and C, those are above and beyond the reason for being here. The only reason we are here voting on this is because of the existing site, which is permissible anyway. So just so we all are on the same page, that condition 2, if we were to approve, is above and beyond what the applicant would need to do in this case.
Member Crone, Mr. Chair, and other members of the board. So, yes, in a sense, it is above and beyond in the fact that Lot A, B, and C of the outlined number 9 is outside the shoreland. So if the applicant wasn't proposing number 8, we wouldn't even be here in front of you tonight. But the condition number 2 would probably apply even though we wouldn't be here for the CUP, like our office would require.
As a best practice,
Yes.
the office would recommend it anyway. Okay,
Yep.
good. I appreciate the clarification.
Yep.
Other questions or comments from the commission?
Could we zoom in on this picture again, where the old barn site is?
That's the one that's probably the easiest to be able to see through.
Okay, that helps out. And then a question for the applicant. Is around the barn kind of flat surface there, or is it all still going down towards the creek?
Around the barn is on a little bit of a knoll. It does drain to the south. Obviously on the east side of that is where it will start to drain. We have an existing cattle handling facility there. It's just basically panels and corrals that we can run cows through the chute. That does slope towards the stream.
I was just looking to see what kind of natural vegetation you had to kind of be a buffer between your operation and that stream.
There are.
The kind of a natural filter.
And there's obviously grass. You can see the lot, the 35 by 200 foot lot is grass now, and then there's grass out the front and out the sides where it's your cattle. They will be pastured there in the summer.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Joe, could you then go back to the one you just had, that shot you just had? And then could you zoom right at the road there, please, where
Yep.
access comes out?
Yep. There.
Yeah, again, my concern would be the approach there coming from the northeast there, that traffic, and bringing any equipment out there. Are those trees there that are there? I mean, I'm concerned about, again, safety with coming out with that ag equipment and the ability oftentimes to stop ag equipment. All of a sudden there's a car right there. Is there any way that could, again, looking out for your welfare, can any of that debris be removed, or is there a clear vision there to the left?
When you pull out and stop, you can see to the left. The left, as you indicated, does come down a hill, so that you are obstructed on the hill that you can see what's coming down the hill and what's there, but if there's something coming at the top of the hill going excessively fast, you won't, they'll be on you fairly quickly as you're pulling out. Pulling in, you can see you're turning in, you're making a left turn, it has a signal light on the equipment. So there you might stop traffic behind you, but you would be able to see oncoming traffic clearly. It's the area you're concerned the area of concern would be leaving that driveway, going back to the west, where there's that pretty sharp hill coming down, and you can only see the nearest part of it. You cannot see the whole cars coming down the hill.
And what about here coming, as you're coming out of that driveway, the traffic coming from the northeast?
That's where the hill is that you.
I'm just wondering about the trees there. Is that obstructed with those trees?
Usually you pull out and stop in front of the trees so you can see, but yes, it is tight. Those are century-old cedar trees that we were hoping just to leave there because you can't replace them once they're gone.
You can't replace two either.
Here, Stan. Thank you, sir.
To address that, Joe, could the county highway department put some kind of warning sign, blind driveway ahead or on top of the hill, or which would help at least to some degree?
I saw it up like coming from the other way if we were gonna access up there, but then taking a closer look here at the driveway down to the barn, it makes me really nervous.
Duly noted.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the findings of fact. Is the proposal consistent with the Stearns County zoning ordinance number 439? Please specify all performance standards that apply.
Mr. Chair, same as the previous application, it does fall under 439, section 4.8, 4.14, 6.8, and 9.3. Those particular sections, as stated previously, deal with conditional use and what's allowed, animal feedlot permits and those standards along with feedlot standards themselves, and what's allowed within an A40 zoning district.
Great, thank you. Is there an environmental assessment worksheet, environmental impact statement, national pollution discharge elimination system, state disposal system, or other permit required for this facility?
Mr. Chair, none of these are required.
Thanks, Rich. Does the proposal conform to the goals and objectives of the county comp plan? Please specify appropriate sections.
Mr. Chair, it does under the ag policy. I'm just going to start with well, you know what? I'm going to use also a nature goal because of the discussion we've had around the environmental concerns and things that are in place to address that within the conditions. And that's to ensure the reasonable and responsible use of the county's natural resources, including land, surface, and groundwater, minerals, open space, wetlands, wildlife, and woodlands. Everyone's going to always have different opinions on what degree you should take to protect, waterways and things like that. But there was a lot of consideration taken in on this one to address those concerns. And then you also have our other goals, which are ag-related. And I'm trying to find it. And that's one. You know what? We'll just stick with goal 1, support agriculture as a desirable land use for the long term.
Thanks, Jason. Will the site configuration, number and types of animals at the site, and prevailing wind conditions impact any of the following areas? Traffic, public safety, schools, parks, churches, and other municipal or residential areas, or other impacts?
There's potential concern with the traffic, with the connection of the driveway that has been there and currently, the increased use of farm equipment to attend to the herds and what have you. So there's potential increased concerns there. And again, I would say Stearns County Highway Department should be contacted and see if we can put a warning sign up in regards to a blind driveway.
Great, thanks, Rich. Has information been provided regarding the impact of property values as a result of this proposal?
Mr. Chair, not any to the Planning Commission.
Wonderful, thanks, Dave. Have all recommendations from the Feedlot Review Committee and Feedlot staff been reviewed?
Mr. Chair, yes, they have. Notes were included in our packets.
Any other issues pertinent to this matter? Please specify.
Mr. Chair,
so noted for the public comments. Thank you. Others? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend we I will make a motion we recommend approval. How's that? With the 3 conditions recommended by staff, one of which, number 2, addresses some of the environmental concerns that were brought up by public comments.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Rich, second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This will be heard by the county board on July 8th. Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
All right, agenda item number 3, if the applicant could come approach the desk. Again, if you have comments, we do have cards on the side. Please fill out a card. If you have filled out a card, raise your hand. Staff will find it. What we're here to talk about on this item is to consider a plat entitled Justin Boys Edition, consisting of 3 residential lots in the Residential 10, the R10 zoning district. The plat was submitted by Roger C. Justin of St. Cloud, Minnesota, on behalf of Jeanette Justin of Rice, Minnesota, according to Stearns County Subdivision Ordinance number 230 and Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439. The 9.32 acre plat is part of the southwest quarter, northwest quarter, and part of the southeast quarter, northwest corner in section 28, lying west of County Road 1 of Brockway Township. Members who visited, I did last month. Jason Crone.
I'm familiar with the property, although I didn't make a specific visit this month.
Dave.
Yes. Mr.
Jacob.
Chair.
Yes.
Rich.
Yes, I did.
Joe.
Yes.
Staff report.
Good evening, Planning Commission members. All right, as you stated, the proposal here is to create a 3-lot plat. The property in total is 156 acres, and they're platting off 9.32 acres. So each lot will be approximately 3 acres. The plat is in the southeast corner of the property, right off of County Road 1. It's zoned R10, and the lots all meet the minimum size requirement. The township has a minimum of 2.5 acres, so they meet that. The equivalent land area being that they're platting 9 acres total in a R10 zone, they do have to restrict an equivalent land area of 20.68 acres, and that's going to be as shown on the map. The plat is in the southeast corner. The restricted area will be the woods over in the southwest corner. And the septic sites have been, 2 septic sites have been identified on each lot and approved. Setbacks are shown on the plat. There's plenty of room to meet setbacks on each lot. There are no wetlands on the property. Feedlot setbacks are met. Access, the 3 lots will share one access to County Road 1 as required by the Highway Department, so they'll have an easement for that crosshatched area. The Highway Department has reviewed it and provided their comments, which were in your packet. Being that 3 lots are gonna, no, it's not gonna be a dedicated public road, it's gonna be a private driveway. Being that 3 lots though will be sharing the driveway, it will get assigned a road name, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be a public road. It will still be a private road easement for this development. As far as stormwater management goes, this plat is not triggering 1 acre of new impervious, so they don't need to do stormwater management. They're very close, so each lot is assigned 10,000 square feet of impervious for their home, outbuildings, etc. And the driveway itself, at 14 feet wide, it's allowed to be 968 feet long, and that would keep them under the 1 acre. If they were to exceed an acre, then a stormwater management plan would need to be prepared. And that is all outlined in the proposed subdivision agreement. Let's see, so the county surveyors review, they made note that there's multiple owners on the property, so all the owners will have to be party to the plat and sign on the final plat. Soil and Water Conservation District also did their review, and they note that there are high groundwater. The soils on the property are, have high groundwater sensitivity, meaning that they're susceptible to contamination from things on the ground surface. It can readily reach the groundwater system. So precautions should be taken in the future. If there's stormwater management needed, precautions should be taken in terms of infiltrating stormwater runoff that might have nitrate or nutrients in it, and you may not want that to get in your water supply. This is in the City of St. Cloud's Drinking Water Supply Management Area, Priority Area A. We did send notice to the city, and they did not provide any comments to us. A park dedication fee is required. So the County Parks Department and Park Board reviewed the plat, I think last night, yeah. And they're recommending the cash in lieu of land dedication, which would be $1,000 per lot. The township reviewed and approved the plat in April. As with all plats, the requirement is that they dedicate a drainage and utility easement along the road, which would be County Road 1. We sent it to Stearns Electric because it's in their service area, and Stearns Electric came back and is requesting drainage and utility easements along the side lot lines within the plat. So plating committee did recommend that those be dedicated as well. Not on the south line, that would be considered the rear property line, but on the side lot lines, the plating committee recommended those easements be dedicated. On the comprehensive plan, it's in a concentrated development area, which makes sense because it is zoned residential 10, and the applicable residential or living goals are included in your packet. Plating committee did review this as well in May, and those minutes were included, and they recommended the conditions that are set forth in your packet. So I will try and skim through those. So the first proposed condition is requiring a declaration of restriction, which would protect the 2 septic areas on each lot, saying they have to be maintained undisturbed and natural. And then a subdivision agreement with a number of items. Letter A, requiring construction site best management practices during construction. B, in order to protect those sewage treatment sites for septic use, they shall be staked and roped off before ground disturbance. Letter C, 14 by 968 foot long shared driveway is planned, and to stay under an acre of new impervious, a maximum of 10,000 square feet impervious is allowed on each lot within Justin Boys addition, unless an engineered stormwater management plan in accordance with section 7.26 of the zoning ordinance is approved. Letter D is, D and E are more or less just a notice to owners of the property that D, the soils in the plat have high groundwater sensitivity. To avoid contaminating groundwater, precautions should be taken as we discussed. And letter E, a statement that the plat is located in an ag area and construction, expansion, operation of feedlots are permitted in the area. So the developers acknowledge that future buyers may be exposed to sights, sounds, smells, and conditions of modern agriculture. Condition number 3 would be the declaration of restriction for that equivalent land area of 20 acres. That area will not be allowed to have a residential dwelling. Number 4, a water supply verification will be recorded indicating that the nitrate level within the plat is suitable. Number 5, a highway certificate will be recorded along with that letter from the highway department. Number 6 would be the ingress, egress, and utility easement for that shared driveway. And 7, a deed is required for the residual property. That's the remainder that's not being platted. 12 is that, number 8 is that 12-foot drainage and utility easement along the east and west property lines within the plat. Number 9, showing that shared driveway easement on the final plat. 10 is again indicating that the ordinance requires, we assume 10,000 square feet impervious lot coverage per lot without a detailed construction plan. So we're just asking for confirmation from the developers that the driveway of 14 foot by 968 feet is suitable so that they don't exceed the acre. And then 11 is the $3,000 parkland dedication fee. That's all I have.
Thank you. Applicant, name and address, please.
I'm Roger Justin. The address that was on the letter is in St. Cloud is my work address. I live at 501 9th Avenue Northwest, St. Stephen.
Thank you.
Ken Justin, address 8955 County Road 5, St. Joe 56374.
Thank you. Any additions to the staff report?
No.
Hearing none. Do we have any? Angie, do we have any cards? All right, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone from the public care to speak? Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public? Any course? Please come to the public testimony and state your name and address and the green light. So there's a button there, make sure the green light comes on.
Okay. Hi, I'm Scott Nordby. I live kind of behind the property where you guys are talking about doing this here project. Is that going to be like a 3-acre parcel per
Scott,
per
to
lot?
me. So ask, direct it to me,
okay,
and then
sorry.
we'll provide back.
Is that going to be like a 3-acre thing is what I'm understanding? So there's, out of the 7 acres or whatever it is, or 11 acres, there's going to be 3 acres of land that's being used in 3-acre plots, I guess?
Would you care to respond?
Yeah, they're good. If you look at the map there where it's yellow,
Okay,
okay, in there there'll be 3 lots
all right.
that go from east to west.
Okay.
And they each will be about 3 acres.
Okay, I was just, maybe my main question there, so it is gonna be like a multi-housing development going back in there with apartments and stuff.
Your address, Scott?
5404 398th Street. We just bought this property like a few months ago, so, yeah.
Okay,
I don't even actually live there, it's just a garage we have, and so, it's just, okay, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair? Can I address the question about multifamily or single family? It's zoned residential 10, so just single family homes are allowed. No multifamily units are allowed.
Other questions from the public? Second offer? And no written comment, correct? Motion to close.
We'll keep the trend going. I'll make a motion. We close public hearing.
And I'll second that.
Have a trend going here. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing closed. Commission questions for staff or the applicant or comments? So a couple of things from the Planning Commission that I know our group likes to talk about. This single driveway, when it goes through the lot, the vision is should emergency vehicles not to get down that road, they'll be able to turn around on the end of the parcel. So that's why the road doesn't show a loop on it. There's an assumption the emergency vehicles can turn around at the end. So we talk about that all the time, so to head that one off. And then one thing I brought up, when I was sitting there looking at this, we had cars flying by me at 50 miles an hour. We brought it up at the Planning Commission saying, hey, is there concern about this? If the county wanted to look at adjusting the speed outside of it, they need to do a speed survey, some kind of thing like that, which is a more significant endeavor. At the moment, there are no plans, from what I understand, to further develop north of here. But should that happen down the road, the county may want to consider doing that to ensure safety of folks who are coming in and out. So just some things that we could talk about during the planning commission. Other questions from the commission?
No, but Mr. Chair, I saw the note in the plating review regarding the emergency vehicles, so I appreciate you mentioning that again.
All right, hearing none, let's move on to the findings of fact. Is the proposal consistent with the zoning ordinance? Why or why not? and the subdivision ordinance.
Mr. Chair, it is consistent with the land use and ordinance number 439, section 9.6, and I don't have it in front of me, so I forget specifically what that one deals with.
That's the residential 10 district.
Thank you, that's the R10 district, all right. I appreciate that, and what's allowed within that R10 district. Also subdivision ordinance number 230, sections 5 and 8, dealing with subdivisions.
Perfect, thank you. Does the proposal conform to the comprehensive plan of the county? Please list the applicable sections.
Mr. Chair, in looking at our conditions, particularly in this area, because this is heading north of Sartell, that classic area where there's a lot of demand for residential lots that are outside of what would be classified as city or high concentration areas. A lot of demand for that, and it hits a lot of living goals in that particular case. I'm trying to scroll through. Clearly manage the impacts of growth and development on the county's rural character and natural resources. This is something as R10, but it sits in a more rural setting. And there's, again, a lot of demand for that. But yet this is still located close to some other residential areas that have a little bit higher concentration housing. I think it's an appropriate plat for the space. Collaborating with cities and townships to maintain sustainable growth patterns that align with the comprehensive plan. Clearly this, I believe, falls within that. And then also, a case in point for this area specifically, the demand for supporting housing options that give people in all stages and all economic means viable choices for safe, stable, and affordable homes. It's a lot of people want to live in the country. Very difficult to buy for a lot of people to afford large acreage parcels, and this is a way to get a little bit of both.
Thank you. Is the proposal compatible with the existing neighborhood? Why or why not?
Mr. Chair, I would say it's compatible from the standpoint, if you look just north of the proposed 3-acre sites, there's a number of residential homes, so it fits in there.
Perfect. Thank you, Rich. How has the applicant demonstrated that standards and criteria stated in the ordinances, both the subdivision and the land use, will be satisfied?
Mr. Chair, they've been working with staff to put the plat together, surveyors as well, and the platting committee has been out and reviewed and made a bunch of recommended conditions that'll apply to this property.
Are there any of the other 5 or other conditions pertinent to this matter?
I guess, looking at the township approve this.
Thank you. All right, hearing the input and the findings of fact, I would entertain a motion.
I would, Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we approve this with the, let me see, I gotta count them up.
10?
11?
11.
11 conditions that were listed by staff here.
Thank you, Rich. We have a motion with the 11 conditions for approval. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, I will second that motion.
Jason seconds. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. This will have some work done before it goes to the county board, right?
Correct.
Yep. So continue working with staff. We've approved it, so there's just some more stuff to do, so. Thank you.
We don't get the July 8th date like everybody else did?
We need the Mylars in our hands before we'll go to the board, so that'll take a little bit of time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. agenda item number 4, again, if you have any public comments, we have speaker cards available. Applicant, please come up and take the chair. Our item today is to consider a request for a conditional use permit submitted by Isaac Hoffman of Gray Eagle, Minnesota, according to sections 4.8, 6.3.2, 9.6.5A, and 9.7.5A of Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439 to locate a detached accessory dwelling unit on a parcel in the R5 and R10 zoning districts. The proposed project is located in Lot 1, Block 1, Uriah Acres, in Section 32 of Millwood Township. The property address is 44520 of Birch Park Circle in Gray Eagle, Minnesota. Members who visited, I did. Jason.
No.
Dave.
Yes,
Jacob.
I did, and the Bergquists are a friend of mine, so they're just down the road from me, so I'm there all the time.
Oh, sure. Right on.
Okay, Rich.
Yes, I did.
Joe.
Yes.
Okay, staff report, please.
All right, thank you. So the proposal here is to add a second home on the property. The applicant has their single-family dwelling on the property, and they would like to build a small home for a family member to live in. Side note, they're also going to be building a large shed. That's not subject to a conditional use permit, but it will be built in tandem with the accessory dwelling unit. So since it's zoned residential, then the ordinance does require a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit. The property, although it's has frontage on the county road, the driveway access is from Birch Park Circle, Township Road. The property, as you saw when you were out there, is mowed lawn and then primarily woods and some wetland area. The home and new shed will go to the east. The area that's shaded sort of grayish blue on the map is shoreland. That's within 1,000 feet of the lake. They're not riparian, but part of their property is within the shoreline overlay district. The new home will be just outside of shoreland, and then the shed will kind of split the line there. So the new home is proposed to be 700 square feet. The ordinance limitation is 1,000 square feet for an accessory dwelling unit. We did go out there. I went out there with wetland staff last week and met with Ike to look at wetlands. Any new structures have to be 25 feet away, and both the new buildings will meet that requirement. On the north, they're over 30 feet from the wetland, and on the south, it was over 50 feet from the wetland. A stormwater management plan is not required. When we look at the performance standards for an accessory dwelling unit, they are meeting all of the requirements. No more than one on the property. They have to, the dwelling can't be sold separately from the main house. The property owner shall reside in one of the homes, which he will. New septic system will be installed for this dwelling. In fact, the design has been submitted and approved already. Let's see, I mentioned it's going to be 700 square feet. The ordinance does limit 5% of the property can be covered with accessory building and this accessory dwelling unit, and they're well under that, so that's fine. Let's see. They'll use the existing driveway access. Looking around in the surrounding area, as you noticed, it's a rural residential area, shoreline residential lots, so that's consistent. In the comprehensive plan, it's in the concentrated development area on the future land use map. If the Planning Commission recommends approval, the only condition we recommend is stating that the property owner shall continue to live in one of the dwellings. And that's all I have.
All right, applicant, name and address, please.
Ike Hoffman, 44520 Birch Park Circle, Gray Eagle, Minnesota.
Any additions to the staff report?
Hmm?
Any additions to the staff report?
Nope.
Okay. Open public hearing. Second offer. Third offer. No written comments, correct?
We're going to go for a clean sweep here. I'm going to make a motion. We close the public hearing.
I second that.
And second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Question from the commission or comments?
So the condition would be that, property owner has to be living in one of those. So if the property is sold to another individual, they could not have two rentals there. Is that correct?
The condition would carry, so the permit goes with the property. So if it sells to me, for example, then I'm the property owner and I would have to live in one of them. So whoever, any future owners, they'd have to live in one of the homes.
So sort of to feed into that, what if somebody buys the parcel and doesn't meet that condition? So there's a violation of the CUP. What is the corrective action?
Yeah, if there is a violation, we notify them of the violation. Their options would be to occupy one of the two structures as the landowner or remove the accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, thank you. Other comments?
Here, just quickly. Jennifer, then, with this case, what are the options then as far as potentially splitting the property? I mean, we've come on to allowing this, and relatively new ordinance. What about potential splitting the property?
Yeah, good question. So it is 5.67 acres, and it's zoned part R5 and part R10. They don't have enough density to split it and have two homes on two separate parcels. They'd have to seek a rezoning to an R1, and then they could pursue a subdivision. But as it's currently zoned, they could not split it.
Mr. Chair, and then one other question. I see the septic system to the existing home. Is that to the north there? What about the septic to the new dwelling?
Where will that new system go, Ike?
So when, what's his name, Krippner?
Brian.
Brian.
Yep.
Yes. When he came out, we dug multiple holes for him to check the soil and everything, and it would actually be towards the road behind where the shed is, right up in there. Yeah. And that's where, I don't know, I guess we all came to the consensus of the ground was best for it.
Yeah.
It'll still be a new small mound to accommodate two, I think the minimum is 2 bedrooms.
Yep.
Or something like that.
Okay. And Jennifer, don't we typically put that on the diagram?
It's not always on there. I do have a drawing which isn't going to help. I can't put it on the screen, but who did the design, Ike?
Mark Kappas.
Okay. Yes, it's going to go straight east of the shed and new house up against the county road right of way. Okay. It's going to be a 10 by 25 mound. 10 by 25 foot rock bed, and then the mound around it.
Mr. Chair, more of a comment than a question in this case. When I looked at this one, accessory dwelling units sometimes become a challenge around lake shores and places like that because everything gets all clustered up. But in this particular proposal, and it's a fitting location due to the acreage and the setting.
You get a nice spot back in there. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I didn't know if anybody else stopped out. I was like, oh God, my German Shepherd.
It was raining. We stayed in the vehicle.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
It was a rough
piece.
dog.
I mean, it's all wood.
Yeah.
It's so secluded. It's like our own little slice of heaven.
Other comments? Questions? Hearing none, I'll move to the findings of fact. Is the proposal consistent with the zoning ordinance? Why or why not?
Mr. Chair, it is consistent with the land use and zoning ordinance 439, sections 4.8, 6.32, 9.6.5A, and 9.7.5A.
Thanks, Dave. Does the proposal conform to the comprehensive plan of the county? Please list applicable sections.
having goals and comprehensive plan goals and objectives, accessory dwelling unit policies. Number one, support a mix of housing that are appropriate for each zoning district. And two, carefully managing ADUs in shoreland areas.
Great.
Thanks, Dave. Nice job.
Is the proposal compatible with the existing neighborhood? Why or why not?
Mr. Chair, we spoke a little bit about it. Well, it may, I don't know if there's a consistency with the area. You have residential units in that area in general. This accessory dwelling is tucked back in the woods, so it's not going to disrupt the area. If anything, it fits.
Thank you. How has the applicant demonstrated that standards and criterion stated in the ordinance will be satisfied?
Mr. Chair, they've been working with staff and a variety of other trades, putting plans together and staying within the ordinances to do all of these things as allowed.
And we do have the condition.
We have a condition that applies as well. Thank you.
So any other issues pertinent to this matter as listed on our chart?
Minimal impact to a lot of things that we would typically deal with or address. This is, again, back to the location. It's going to be a nice addition to this property and have minimal impact on neighbors.
All right.
Therefore, I'll make a motion. We recommend approval with the one condition that the property owner shall continue to live in one of the residential dwellings.
Thank you. Motion
And
for,
I will second that,
with the one condition.
with the one
Second.
condition.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This will go before the county board on the July 8th meeting. Thank you.
Good luck. Nice project.
Agenda item number 5. Jason, I see you sent us something.
That was not me. Really good. I read it.
Yeah, so one of the things I was thinking about is, like when Bethy Joe was talking about Min Farm, we're steeped in this stuff. So when we read off the numbers, it makes sense to us. We know what it is. But applicants and members of the audience and the members of the greater public who are watching today may not be aware of the intricacies of what we're talking about. So I'm like, 439, 6.3.2, what is that? So just providing folks a little context of what we're talking about provides for greater clarity on the public. And it also demonstrates that we are not just reading the staff report. We're embracing our role here. So, Jason, you did a really good job on today, and just if we can move through that, that would be useful.
Yeah, and I like it. I think it's a really good call. All this stuff goes over better when people understand the why or your justification. I mean, there's always going to be things that every single person is going to disagree on. But if you explain a rationale, people, by and large, should be able to agree to disagree if there's logic and rationale applied. And this just adds to that whole rationale and logic. Here's the applicable section. You're not just pulling these numbers out of air. These are allowed. I think sometimes these applications come in and there's a bias or people think that, no, this isn't allowed. No, it is allowed as long as conditions and certain things are met. So, well done.
Any level of transparency is super helpful for people.
Yep, for sure.
So, yeah, so it's always fun to flip through our binders.
You're doing a good job as chair, Jace.
Thank you.
I like it.
So minutes. I'd accept a motion.
I apologize. I was not at the last meeting. I was actually being medevaced to a hospital last month, so my apologies.
That's a
so
fairly
yeah. It would have been great. I mean, just prop me up,
Could wheel you in.
I don't even remember the helicopter ride. That's the most annoying part of all of this. So
Oh, you
pay that kind of money and you
It was
don't
like
remember it?
$45,000. I'm like, wow, that's fun.
I'd appreciate a better excuse next time.
I'll do better. Fantastic.
I'll make a motion to,
Thing you're here.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May
You have
meeting.
a
I will second that.
You two, is there like something going on here?
Just trying to get Joe to Boundary Waters.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Items for next month.
Madam, see, I'm so used to, why do I say Madam Chair?
You can call me
Mr.
Madam
Chair.
I'm okay.
Angie Berg, Environmental Services, I'm just gonna say that you're gonna have your first cannabis application. It's gonna be for a micro business. And we won't get into the details because this isn't a public hearing for it. But there are some good reference materials that I can try to send you next week even already from the Office of Cannabis Management. And then you all had at least 3 conversations at this meeting to set the standards. Jennifer and I met with an applicant last week. Heidi and I met with a different applicant last week. And the one that you're seeing is a very good it's a detailed application.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, they're going to be, and we're not the only county dealing with it either. The flood is on.
Right. The Office of Cannabis Management issued the first round of licenses, and so the individuals who've received preliminary license approval are the ones that are coming forward at this time.
Do we have other items on the agenda?
Jen maybe can speak
Yep,
to
we
that.
have, you may remember there was a tower proposed last fall which got pulled before the meeting, so that one is back. The Tyson's Rural Tourism in St. Joe Township will be back. There is a shoreline alteration permit, and there is a gravel mining operation.
And Mr. Chair, I believe, board members, you received a letter from Environmental Service relating to the Mary Meadows and some of the issues relating to Mary Meadows. You know, within my district, that still remains to be a hot ticket item. And I want to get to Boundary Waters tonight yet too, but you mentioned the issue of transparency, also just the townships. I think, you know, we should allow the townships at least have input on that and not just keep them hidden as far as what's happening on those properties relating to outdoor music, that they should be brought in the loop about that, as well as, you know, some of the ordinance relating to adverse impact of that to the neighboring residents. So it's something we need to we'll be talking about it at the next meeting with this issue coming forward. So I think we can do better than we've been doing.
All right, thank you. Jason and Rich, you want to close this out with a clean sweep?
I'll make a motion, we close the meeting. Thank you.
Opposed? Motion passes. Enjoy your 4th, everybody.